hybrid. I think you said, Ellie, that you can see her. So whenever Claire, if she can hear us, you want to speak, Ellie will know and she'll put her hand up so I know. Okay. Right. Welcome everyone to the Corporate Support and Resources Scrutiny Committee of Tuesday, the 1st of April. If we go to the agenda, apologies for absence. We've had apologies from Gary Thomas, who I know sent his apologies this morning. Is there anybody else? No. Hopefully all of us then are here. And before I start, can I welcome Julie Taylor to the meeting? I'm sure we got a number of questions ready for you when we come to it. Item 2, declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest? No, there are none. We then come to item 3. That's the report on decarbonisation. Do you wish to take us through the report, Julie? Oh, sorry. I'm going, yeah, you carry on. Sorry, Anna. Here we are.
Thank you, Chair. This report outlines progress made towards achieving the One Planet Standard Award and demonstrates how decarbonisation actions are being embedded across all areas of the authority. As members will be aware, the Council has been committed to reducing carbon emissions and increasing energy efficiency for several years, following the 2015 Carbon Management Review and the approval of the 2019 Carbon Management Plan. The Council has undertaken measures to reduce emissions from buildings, improve operational efficiencies and implement sustainable energy solutions. More recently, in 2023, the Council approved a decarbonisation plan which covers 23 to 2030, which sets clear targets and a governance structure to drive progress towards net zero. This report highlights delivering a number of key initiatives, including achieving the One Planet Standard Bronze Award in June 2024, significant reductions in energy costs and emissions, the expansion of electric vehicle infrastructure, large-scale building projects designed to net zero standards, ensuring sustainability is embedded into future infrastructure, the approval and implementation of the local area energy plan, and achievement of ISO accreditation, making Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council the first public sector body in Wales to gain this energy management standard. The report also sets out the next steps required to meet the One Planet Standard Silver Award, with key areas for focus from April to July 25, including enhancing staff training and engagement on decarbonisation, strengthening communication with stakeholders to encourage participation and feedback, continuing investment in energy efficient projects, net zero buildings and biodiversity initiatives. As our residents continue to be impacted by climate change through severe winter weather such as storms and floodings, the Council is committed to making Merthyr Tydfil a place of sustainability, ensuring our actions contribute to a greener future. I will finish by giving my thanks to Julie Taylor, report author, and as Clive mentioned, Julie is available to answer any questions the committee may have on this subject. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. We go to questions on the report. Questions, members? Councillor Gareth Richards.
Thank you, Chair. A very basic question to start with. What precisely are the One Planet Awards?
Yeah, it's a standard that's been set up. It's ourselves and Swansea Council are the only ones in Wales to have this at the moment. Swansea Council have the Silver Award. It's geared also to local authorities, public sector organisations, but also private sector as well. So it's a standard that takes you through many different criteria and target areas that basically embeds the culture and measuring and monitoring of reducing ecological footprint. So it's a really useful standard, and that's why we've gone for it, because it really helps us have a way of monitoring and measuring, and also it's an external way of proving to people that we really are achieving lots in Merthyr. But it helps us hugely internally by not just me doing the work, it's me taking it out to all the different managers, all the different areas, training staff, and this next level really takes it to the next stage where we're engaging with the public more, telling them about what we're doing, getting feedback from them, but also our customers, our supply chain, contractors we work with. So it's starting to touch each area of the council, rather than it just being run by a small team in the council. It's getting everybody to start looking at this as a business as usual ways of working. So the standard is complex and it is hard to reach. So hence, not many people have achieved it so far. But it really does have great things involved in it that helps us set up systems and governance to take this forward and reach our overall targets.
Okay, Gareth. Councillor Lisa Min.
Thank you, Chair. Just at 5.10, where we talk about electric vehicle public charging points, a number of those have been installed, as I can see, with support from CCR and Connected Curb. I just wondered, what is the expectation for a local authority in implementing and putting in electric chargers in spaces that we own then, or high street infrastructure, residential infrastructure, I think is what I'm getting at. What is the expectation? Is there one, or is it up to residents themselves, or do we have a responsibility?
We do have responsibilities to provide a number of chargers, and within the information that's put there, we've got around 50. There'll be around 54 by the end of phase 2 with the work with CCR, and we are meeting the target that we've been set, which is more of a guidance target from Welsh Government and Senex and Nevis that provide the information. So that's the expectation, is that we provide that many, and so we are reaching that, and that's why we're working in partnership with CCR and Connected Curb. The expectation from perhaps residents is different to that. And what we're doing at the moment is we've put information on the website that tells people exactly where these places are. Obviously, we're utilising council land as much as we can, because that's within our gift and resources. So that's why this phase 2 will also extend other areas and put more charges onto those. And we've put a statement out from Highways as well, saying that at the moment we're not doing on-street parking for terraced areas. Excuse me. And the reason for this is legislative. It's because of the reasons, because you have to make sure everything's safe, we have to make sure there's liabilities, etc. So as a council, there are projects going on around the country, and people are trialling new methods of doing things. So what we've thought at the moment is we're going to have a look and see what's successful, what's not, because also it costs quite a lot to do the trials, and see what works there. And I think technology will catch up in terms of having safer ways of charging on streets at some point. And I think that's the expectation from our side, is we'd like to do more, but we've got to make sure it's obviously complying with the law and it's safe as well.
No, that's great. I think and that's why I asked about the expectation, because inevitably I think there's one expectation perhaps from a government perspective, but in all honesty from a local authority perspective, because of infrastructure and cost, I guess, that they also must appreciate that in some respects it's going to be unachievable. If you can imagine, especially in some, terraced areas where parking is an issue and things like that. So I just wondered where that was at. So that's great. Thank you, Julie. Thanks for explaining.
Chair, can I come in?
Yes, certainly.
Oh, Councillor Smith was first. Thanks, Chair. So my question around the EV charging is, it's currently at 3.9%. What actions are being taken to increase the usage before we move on to phase 2?
The reason why it's obviously that low is because there aren't a huge amount of people who have electric vehicles. So we don't have any control over the utilisation, but I thought it was interesting to put that in the report, because it does show that demand is not really high, so we perhaps don't need to put too many in, because they're not overly utilised at the moment. So I don't know if I've answered your question properly there.
It's what I thought it was, to be honest. It's No, I don't know what the local authority can do about people buying, electric vehicles, but I guess we could promote it a little, work with some companies to promote it. Just thinking aloud, I am there. But in terms of our fleet, is 20, I think we're 25%. What, is there a program of works that, what percentage are we aiming for? Is it 100% of our fleet, and over what period of time are we looking at that?
I think it would be up to 2030, 2035 where the targets are. And the reason for that as well is because some of the vehicles, for example, the HGV, the really heavy good vehicles, big, larger ones, the technology doesn't exist in some areas at the moment to work on terrain like there are in the valley areas because of the very steep hills, etc. And there's some vehicles that aren't even manufactured at the moment, which are electric, to replace some of the fleet areas where you need more specialised vehicles. So we're waiting for technology. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, are they all electric, or do we have hydrogen cell vehicles as well?
No, the ones that we've got the 20%, 25% on the moment are all electric. We don't have any hydrogen cell ones at the moment. But that's not to say we wouldn't look at that in the future. What Fleet have done, though, they've already transitioned the fleet area, so it's got all the infrastructure for charging needed for the whole fleet. And as and when vehicles come to the end of their lease, because it's more economical to wait to the end of the lease, we'll move over to the electric version if it's available. But what we're looking at now is leasing them, because the ones we've had to date, we've actually purchased through capital grants, and which is great to have the grant funding, but because we don't have an in-house workshop, you're then paying more expensively for repairs. So it makes more sense for us to look at leases, but these kind of leases have only just come on the market. So we're looking at replacing them with that because it's more effective, more efficient for council money as well. So.
On the back of that,
Yeah, on the back of Lee's question about the 3.9% last. The 3.9 is what capacity is being used? Is that?
Yes, yeah. So there's 100% capacity there available, but only 3.9% is being used by people coming in. And it's interesting to look at the figures. I think there's around about 80, 90 regular users using that 3.9%. So we haven't got a huge amount of footfall of different vehicles using it because you have this data from the app. Which how many users there are, and they'll have a profile set up, obviously their own login, and you can tell how many different people are using it. So we're looking at that as well, trends, to see that going up and down, and it obviously will go lower the more charges we put out because we've only got a certain amount of users at the moment.
Thank you. Chair, little liberty, if you would. It's around the same area that Lee and Lisa have been talking about.
Yeah.
What I have been finding in the last 6 or 7 months is more people from terraced areas asking about the policy of the council on installing chargers. So I think there is certainly more interest from the public in wanting to have their own charger at their property. Sorry, that may have been a common German, but I thought it was worth bringing up.
It's on the same theme,
Yeah.
Sorry, can I just come back in? Sorry, I should have alluded to this. The reason being is, as you drive down from, forgive me, I've forgotten the road name, but from Snow's Garage down towards Pentrabach, and you come then towards the Ford Garage and the car wash, a resident got in touch with me because the resident has put an electric charger in there, and the lead is coming onto the house, onto the main pavement.
Oh, right.
So that was one of my thoughts then of thinking, because I didn't know where the liability was it with the resident and the lead that's coming onto the pavement of their car, or was it with us then, because it crosses the pavement, so I was just wondering, that was another reason behind it.
Yeah.
You can't answer it, Julie, I don't get it, it's a legal matter, but I thought I'd just share that with you. Sorry, I can't get my mic on. Or just leave.
Sorry, I think Adam is working through a policy at the moment, so that the council have got a clear policy for residents that are interested. He did mention it to me a few weeks ago. Sorry for coming in.
I just say, if you you want me to
Go on.
say that? Sorry, I was just going to say, yeah, the policy lines are now on the website. Yeah, they're on there and highways have been involved in putting that together as well, from a legal point of view. So there is something on there, but I appreciate not every resident would know to look there, but we're trying to publicise it as much as we can. And any residents who do write in to highways asking the questions, can they have a charger on the street, that is within the reply as well. But obviously not to say we're not doing research in the background to see, you know, what's coming out that we could do in the future. Thank you.
Okay, Bill, you've been very patient.
No problem.
Sorry, Bill.
No problem. Research. Women are boss.
This is what it was just
Women are bosses at the end, we just understood, right? On that comment you made about charging in England now, they allow them to cut the channel in the payment. So, you know, that instead of doing it in England, perhaps you could look at it overall. And it's worth having a look at that. No? You know it.
Well, no, that-
Morning breakfast is on.
somebody, in fact, who I gave the line of the council to came back and said, well, in England they do in channels or with flaps that open, you know, it's quite complicated. But there are ways that they've been doing in some councils, apparently.
On your report, it's a good report, right, really well, but we're providing signposting and training for staff on environmental responsibility. Can council be involved with that? Because I read the report, right, and I like to get my head right round it completely.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at it and I, to myself, I'd rather see like a workday shop for you to tell us what we're going to do on the cost, because it's right down the report, I guess, but if you don't understand it, you've got a problem. You can understand most of it, but again, it needs to know the cost, what we're going to do on the training element.
Yeah, we've got the e-module, which is online. We've got the module there that you're welcome to participate and complete as well, which would be great if you could do that. But we can also offer the face-to-face training as well.
Yeah, I'd rather face-to-face, and you should know then.
Yeah.
That's my policy. Another question I got in the council is that extra funding for health social care in Wales. So how much do we have a grant for 3 areas as Tigurnas, Chibargoed, and I can't remember the name. Congola. How much do we have for that? And what we intend to do with it? Because a lot of people ask about Tigurnas, that's my area, and they want to know when they start work, what are we going to do?
We had the funding last year. It was
Right.
awarded last June. And basically, it was a piece of work to do a feasibility study, to do a baseline report
Right.
on the ecological footprint, the carbon emissions from the 3 premises and also other premises within social care. So it was to write a high-level net zero plan for social services, and we focused on those 3 key areas because they were the highest users of energy. So the money has been spent because we procured that and it was delivered by a consultant. So what we've done since, the report has been passed through social services. So myself and the change manager now lead that with the 3 buildings that you've just referred to. And we've got action plans which have around 20-30 different actions within there, referring to things like changes in the with the heating, the kitchens, things they're procuring, to training. It covers all sorts in the buildings to reduce the energy usage where possible, obviously. But that's what's happened with that. That funding has been spent, but it's now a live action plan, and the building managers from those premises and the social services managers are involved. So I've set up working groups with each of them, and that's now being delivered.
So the action is for saving energy, lighting, cooking, bits and pieces, and reading, all that type of thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Yeah.
finished, Bill?
Yeah, great.
Okay, Claire's got a question. Claire, I know you can hear us, but we can't see you. But you use the opportunity for your questions.
Thank you. Sorry, my camera is showing as on my screen, so I'm not sure why that isn't coming through. I know I had to click on a couple of sort of messages when the meeting started today that I was agreeing to being recorded and for transcripting. So I'm not really sure what the technical difficulty is. So my apologies for whatever's going on in the background.
I think it's our end is probably the problem, Claire. Yeah.
Thank you. Sort of a question really is probably something that goes around my mind when we talk about sort of looking at carbon footprint. And obviously in sort of section 5.4 of the report, it talks about all the training going on around carbon literacy with sort of all colleagues across the local authority. I just wondered, as a local authority, do you just consider your carbon footprint in terms of your kind of offices and buildings, or do you also take into account any sort of carbon footprint as a result of hybrid or home working?
Yes, I can answer that. Thank you. Yes, it's home working, business commuting as well is included. And these are part of the targets that are reported to Welsh Government, which are mandatory for all local authorities to report on. So we have an annual questionnaire that goes out to all employees, and we've just got the results in, actually finished yesterday. So I haven't seen all the results at the moment, but they'll be compiled. And from that, we have a calculation that then gives us the number for what we put in the report, figures for home working, and there's a separate one for employee commuting and a separate one for business mileage as well. So all these things are taken into account.
That's great, thank you. Sorry, as a sort of a public co-op dear, in the report on 5.8, it refers to sort of the wire going from Penydre School to the hospital. Could you give me a little bit more information on that, please?
Yeah, sure. That project is live at the moment. The refurbishment is being carried out. There's talks at the moment with the NHS, and there's contractors involved who are actually carrying out the work. I don't know all the background side of it. I don't know if you wanted to come in.
I can answer that. This question came up in our pre-meet, and as a result of that, I've written to Craig Watkins, the head of planning, to find out where we were. He was on leave at the time, but David Cross has replied, saying that they're out to consultation, but there is a further consultation taking place, which apparently won't last very long. And once they've got completed the consultation, they will then get the report ready. And I presume from his reply that this planning application will be dealt with and determined by the planning committee itself. I asked him when that was likely to be. He didn't give a date, but I think that may well be possibly be coming to the planning committee in June. So that's where we are with that particular. I don't know whether that answers the points that Claire was asking, but that's where we are. It's we're nearly there with all the consultations that have taken place with it.
Thank you, Chair.
So what it's giving power for.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought she was talking about the
she may have. Yeah.
the progress.
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything more on that, Claire?
It was just curiosity as well. I assumed that the private wire was regarding sort of energy, but it wasn't clear perhaps from the report.
Sorry, do you want me to get back in? So yes, apologies. It's basically the Penydre School will have a way of obviously bringing in energy from there. Because the schools are closed over the summer as well, a great way of using the energy then is to have a private wire and to move that energy that's been gained and take it to the hospital. So they're quite unusual projects, but they will become more the norm in the future because it's a great way of saving up the energy, holding it and moving it to somewhere that can actually use it. So it is an energy project.
Thank you, that sounds absolutely fantastic. with regards to 5.13 in the report, it talks about a local area energy plan for Merthyr Tydfil. And obviously, reading the report, I can see that there are sort of sections for the council and then there are sections for other sort of partners in the borough. And I was just wondering how the council will be supporting or encouraging others to achieve the plan overall, and whether your internal working group are considering any kind of partnerships approach for an holistic oversight of the plan, whilst you're also working on your own sort of council actions.
Yes, yeah, I can answer that one. We basically have a working group at the moment to deliver the local area energy plan. I've been leading it from the start, from last February, and it was obviously endorsed by council last November. So what we're doing at the moment is, one partner we were looking at working with is the RSLs, which is the housing associations through strategic housing. So we'll be looking at how they're delivering out to their clients as well. So we're working in partnership with them. That's just starting. And then the big project now to start delivering through the working group internally is to look at all the assets we have in the council and what land and buildings we have. So we're going to look at this strategically on a mapping exercise, but the idea is to look at what's close to there so we can start looking at which partners we can talk to, because obviously, again, a bit like the Penny Dray School and the Private Wire Hospital, we want to look for more examples of these projects, because it then pushes out the energy use and more renewables into other public sector organisations. So that's the next stage. We're just at that strategic mapping stage to start looking at this, to pull it together, and hopefully from that we'll have 5 or 6 key projects we can look at working up into business cases and see which we can take forward, and obviously bring them back to you to discuss, to see where the priorities should lie. But yeah, I would say we're at the initial stages of that, and we definitely need to work with other partners, because it's not something just the council can deliver on its own. This is all about having a whole borough approach to renewables.
That's great, thank you. Chair, can I make a retrospective declaration of interest? I'm a public co-optee on the committee, but my day job is with one of the local RSLs, so just to sort of note that one. Sort of 5.15 of the report mentions the accreditation. Could I just congratulate everybody on that achievement, please? And one very last quick thing from me, an extra email came out regarding I think it was 25 sites referred to within the report around water logging. Sorry, I've lost my space in the thing, but just to sort of say that St Aloysius School was included on the list, and my understanding is that's going to be part of the 3 to 16-year-old sort of school that they're building on the Bishop Edley site. Thank you.
Yeah, there are 25 sites which are mentioned in the report. We sought clarification on where the sites were, and I think perhaps we better send that out to, I'm not sure if the whole committee have received it. Everybody did? Yeah, or that's all right, as long as everybody's happy to resolve the 25 sites. That's all that matters. But it was quite interesting, because several of the sites were schools, but there were other buildings. Finished, Claire?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Okay, that's fine, thank you. Councillor Declan Sam.
Thank you, Chair. Just going back on Councillor Lisa Mitten's point where she raised about 5.10. Now, I'm going slightly off topic, to be honest, but what's the estimated lifetime for these EV chargers? You know, no, okay, that's fine. You can send it to us again. It's no problem. Yeah.
Elon isn't here to tell us.
The other thing is Myth Council are looking at having 55 chargers. There's 22 already provided by private enterprises, and our uptake on council chargers is 3.9%, which is obviously low. Now, bearing in mind that local authorities are not really commercially minded, to be honest. So I don't know if this is a question for you, the 151 officer, or for Adam, who's not here. But what are we doing to make sure that we are charging rates that people will actually come and use council charging points? Because obviously the council's getting money from Welsh Government for these, but you don't want to have like 55 charges and not being used. So what are we doing, and are we already monitoring the private enterprises?
I think that it'll be best if we take that offline and we get Adam Richards to give you an update with regards to the charging mechanism that is used. Obviously, there's a cost-benefit analysis undertaken with regards to the investment in implementing this infrastructure. But if I take that back and I ask Adam to...
Okay. I know I've gone slightly off topic, but to be honest, we're looking to the future, and we need to look at different things, and as I said, councils are not really commercially minded sometimes, but if I send an email, I'll copy everyone in, and then, and Adam can answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, Chair.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Councillor Lee Davis.
Thanks, Chair. I got a couple of questions. Now the key performance indicators have been introduced for decarbonisation themes. When will the data be published, and how will progress be reported? Will it to be both scrutiny and to the public?
The performance indicators have just been set for this year, so we haven't gathered the information yet because it waited till yesterday would be the cut-off date for the financial year. So we'll be asking for those figures in the next couple of weeks. We'd hope to put a report together by the summer, so say by August, I would say, to give people time to put that together and send it to me. We don't have it would go to corporate management team to be reported there, but happy to report it more widely. It'll also go to the performance management team as well as part of theirs. So happy to be guided on that.
Okay, thank you. I've got a couple more, Chair, if that's okay. With the new procurement requirements such as carbon reduction plans, how is the council supporting local SMEs to adapt, and is there a risk of unintentionally excluding local business from bidding? Are we supporting local businesses?
Procurement team have been planning a supplier day, which they will be doing in the future, and that will be the aim of this, to bring together key suppliers that are used. There's lots of information out there and lots of organisations who do provide this support. They're quite simple templates that we can signpost to them, which we'll also put on the website, because the last thing we want is anybody to be excluded because they don't have that expertise or knowledge. At the moment, the Procurement Act requires people, it's more very high value tenders, around 5 million mark, which is obviously the bigger organisations, which would be tendering for those. But I would expect it to come down and down in value with the requirements, mandatory requirements, because it will do to reach net zero. And we'd definitely look to support them with that. We wouldn't want to leave people behind or exclude people. So
that's great.
There are plans in place.
Okay, thank you. Last question, Chair. It's regarding the Silver Award. There's 18 new targets. Do we have sufficient resources and permanent staff at capacity to meet these commitments, especially beyond temporary funding such as SPF?
Personally, I would say we do have the resources to do that, because it's basically things that I can do. It's putting together information, it's sending it out, it's talking to the key managers, which I do anyway, and it's getting them to talk to their staff, so it becomes business as usual. You're not doing anything additional really, it's what we should be doing anyway. So it's training, it's information on the website, the intranet as well. And it's also starting to just use our communication channels more effectively, social media, engaging with the public and our suppliers and supply chain as well. So that's things we can do that I can do. I've got confidence that we would achieve that. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. That's it. Thanks, Chair.
Okay.
Chair, on the back of Lee's question,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Regarding the 18
Yeah.
targets that have to be met, Julie, where are we at the moment? At the very start or on the road to achieving them?
Yeah, I'd say we've done around 50% of them. So the silver award, moving from the bronze to the silver. So the bronze is all about having a commitment and planning what you're going to do to reduce your ecological footprint, which we achieved last year. Silver is much more about developing this and implementing and measuring. And so having the KPIs is a big part of this. We've also, communication is a big part as well, which we've done. So that's having the e-module, having the face-to-face training, using our communication channels more effectively is something we can do. We've also got one of the things they're really keen on as well in the Silver Award is more collaboration, so more cross-party working, evidence of that in the authority, which we do have, because we have the electric vehicle charging working group, we have social services delivery one, we have renewable assets one as well, the LEAP working group as well. So we can show all the evidence there that would, it's not just me doing this. It's it's escalated out to so many different groups and managers. And then just having a look on the other ones. The next ones are more about engagement. So we're engaging with external organisations and also bringing things into our recruitment processes as well. It's something we need to do. So they're the key areas we need to work on. It's the engagement with external parties, supply chain.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? No. I've just got a few. If you can go to 4.5, the key projects included, the second dot down refers to optimization of civics office's data centre, saving £40,000 per year. Perhaps, Julie, you can explain exactly how that works. Are we, for example, referring there to the amount of energy that the servers use, or is it everything in the civic centre? Because we've got solar panels on the roof, etc. Could you put the speaker on?
Apologies. Yeah, I think I would have to refer back to the energy team on this, because these were projects that were done previously. This is more in the background, apologies. So I would need to speak in more detail to the energy team to ask them about that one. I think it's more on the data centre and the server and the temperatures in there, but I would need to double check exactly what happened on that project.
Right. On that point, if you're going to send an email to the energy team, could you, in the same email, ask for clarification if the servers all packed in, do we have a plan A or a plan B? And when we have a reply, could you send that to all the members of the Scrutiny Committee, please?
Yes, of course. Do you mean though, with the servers though, would that be more of an IT question as well? If they actually didn't work anymore?
Yes, obviously it would involve them, but it's part of the plan for, part of the whatever. If we have an emergency, we should have that in the plan somewhere.
Yeah. Okay.
Hopefully
so
it is,
emergency plan.
because if they're all packed in this day and age, we'd all be in trouble. Yes, go on, Craig.
Yeah, Chair, that's obviously picked up across as a corporate risk, and we can report on that and share that with members.
Lovely. Okay, thank you very much. The other question I've got is on page 7, and it's under 5.4. Where are we going? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th dot down, when I quote, benchmarking to foster a culture of continuous improvement and collaboration. You have touched upon it, Julie. Can you give us an example of who we're benchmarking with?
Yes, of course. Yeah, benchmarking is one of the requirements of the Silver Award. So we do have the annual report from Welsh Government on the carbon emissions reporting, and there are a number of graphs, number of information in there against the other authorities in Wales. So that's something we would look at in each different area, because obviously it's broken down into buildings, it's the homework and commuting, etc. It's procurement, the supply chain. There's many different areas, land management. So all of these areas, we do have figures from these. I think the last two reports didn't actually benchmark, but they've just started to do it at Welsh Government on the last report. So we can see on there. So there's lots of groups where there's a climate change local authority officers group with the Welsh Local Government Association, where we all talk together, and there's lots of great ideas. It's more of a best practice ideas group, but there will be more benchmarking as we go forward with that as well. And also the local area energy plan, which is managed by Cardiff Capital Region CCR. There's more comparisons there as well, because we're now getting to the stage where we're all in the delivery rather than right in the leap. And there will be more benchmarking against each other within that as well.
So there's a whole host of places, groups that we can benchmark with.
Yes, yeah.
Right, okay. And so the general question now, I know we got 20 energy champions within the authority. How, because I would have thought it's part and parcel of your job to check on how decarbonisation is proceeding and hopefully reducing year on year. But there must be a system as to how you calculate that, I presume, per building, etc. Is that something that's pretty complex as to how you work out how we are improving?
Yeah, there are systems for each building. Each building has, and this is part of the changes and the improvements that the energy team have been making. They have something called the BMS, which is basically a remote digital system, which gives the energy team a touch of a button. They can see all the graphs of the usage of the different energies, and they can monitor that. And that's how they decided, for example, where to put the water loggers, because it's in the highest energy users. So it helps them really target different areas, which ones to look at, and which, where to put money if we get money from grants, which areas to look at as well. So yeah, we do have good information at our fingertips that we can record where the energy is being used and what to target. I would say for carbon emissions overall, though, it also is the biggest part of our carbon emissions is from procurement, which is very hard to control, and obviously costs are going up. But that's the way that Welsh Government record it, is pound per spent, which is not the easiest metric then to convert back, because obviously we are spending money on improving schools, on improving different buildings, and obviously we are spending money, even though it's carbon neutral and some of them net zero. Sometimes we have to be careful what we take into account with figures, because it's not always that meaningful in those areas. But I'd say all the ones with the BMS and all the digital data, it is really meaningful. But perhaps procurement, we have to sit back and just look a bit more at the figures rather than what that output target figure was.
So procurement was such a big issue that's an area of work that has to be more needs to be done in that area, is, I presume, what you're saying.
Yeah, sorry, it's the way that Welsh Government ask us to record it is pound per spent, which is maybe not the best metric, but
no,
it's not a criticism.
No,
it's just basically is a very, very difficult way of measuring procurement, because it's obviously just it's a figure of money at the end of the day, and they don't have any better way. But what they are looking at doing is they're putting in systems, which they're asking local councils to trial, that have been set up, is asking suppliers to start recording carbon reduction reports, putting in those figures. But again, it's quite difficult to get private sector to engage, because as we talked about, some people don't always have the understanding or the time in private businesses to give all this information. But I think it will improve year on year.
Okay, thanks. I think I got one last question. Is on 5.15. You refer to the energy management standard, and he said the standard has been implemented in 5 key council buildings and provides a systematic approach to best practice in energy management, leading to continuous energy efficiency improvement. So you're talking about 5 key council buildings. Council's got a lot of buildings. So is the plan to extend that to eventually all buildings?
I'm not sure. Did you want to? No.
I think in relation to this, a presentation as well was made to the schools forum, the last schools forum with engaging schools as well to be part of the project going forward. It was a very encouraging conversation, and the buy-in from the head teachers was very much apparent in that session. What the decision they're looking to take forward is whether or not it's an opportunity to encourage like a competitive behaviour within those buildings to promote culture and behaviour change in the way that key stakeholders, our pupils in our schools, our business, property managers, how they drive forward, change around behaviour in. So that would obviously promote developing and rolling out to further council buildings across Tydfil.
So where we're talking about the 5 key council buildings, does that include schools or is it elsewhere, those 5?
I'd have to come back to you on the detail of what those 5 buildings make up. Sorry, Chair.
Yeah, okay. But obviously it's the plan, it won't be just 5 in the future. We'll be looking at a lot more, I would have thought.
Yes, the plan is to roll out behaviour change across all of our stock of buildings and to get the best practice embedded across all.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Declan Salmon.
Thank you, Chair. It's not a question, it's a request, and you probably do this anyway, Julie, to be honest, but it's just following on from Councillor, the Chair's, Councillor Clive Jones's question in regards to comparisons between other organisations. If they are available, I know you said Welsh Government are starting to put figures together in regards to benchmarking, but if those figures are available, that show different figures for other local authorities, would you be able to include them in future reports where this subject is being discussed? I'm sure you do it anyway, but
yeah, 100%. Yeah, we could share that information. There's the meeting is about 2 weeks' time. Actually, Welsh Government are bringing out the results of last year's figures, but they usually talk us through it in a workshop first of all, just to sense check some of the things on there, and then they come out later in the year. They do come out quite a significant number of months afterwards because obviously there's so much information and so much checking that goes into it. So yeah, when they should be out by September, I think.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Before we go into comments, any other questions? No. Comments? No, please, from any member. Councillor Lee Davis.
Thanks for answering all our questions. The only comment I make, great to hear you said you're looking at other initiatives like Penedre, Private Wire. Myself and my colleague, Councillor Minton, went to an event not too long ago where we were discussing keeping the energy and the wealth within our communities rather than having, energy providers from Sweden flooding our communities and taking the wealth elsewhere. So that's great to hear. Thank you.
I go Councillor Bill Smith.
Sorry, Chair. You're going to say a good report, I said earlier on, but I'd like to learn more about it, this report, and also with the Penedre Wire. Do you get community benefits from that project into the community versus in the goodness? I'd like to know something. Do we get something out of it? Then we get free electric for all the schools, power for Prince Charles. But again, we're losing an element, we're losing a field. So I just want to know, is there any community benefits involved to support the community? We'll do it. Because when Penny Ray finished the project, there will be like a community school. Coulter School will be a community school. So we're looking for funding to help them schools to support the children going there.
I wouldn't know that myself at the moment, but I could find out.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
We should do that.
Okay. Other comments? Yes, Councillor Salmon.
In going for silver.
Right. And on that point, it's already been mentioned by Claire Payne, but I want to congratulate you and all other staff, whoever's been involved in the accreditation of that management standard, as Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council is the first public sector body in Wales to achieve this. So I think that's really something to be proud of, frankly. And can I thank you for asking a whole host of questions this afternoon, and to other officers who've been involved. I think that completes our deliberations on this report, and you don't need to stay any further unless you wish to. Thank you. Right, we come now to item 4 under the work programme, forward work programme 24-25. This is the last meeting before the AGM. And in the pre-meeting, I think we looked at suggestions for any future meeting after the AGM on the 14th, and we did have a reply from Sarah King on the two particular aspects. Do you want to read it out, Neil, please?
No problem. Yeah, the one item that was suggested was with regards to the transformation plan, and as Councillor Jones said, the reply from Sarah with regards to that, and I quote, "I cannot say for certain that this will be ready for the first scrutiny meeting, as we are still developing it. The timeline will be discussed with the Cabinet members shortly, and then we could determine when would be the most appropriate time for it to come to scrutiny in the next cycle as part of the wider forward work plan discussions."
So, in that respect, they've got to prepare the transformation plan. Obviously, they don't know at this stage, so we'll have to keep that in the forward work programme, and keep in touch with the officers dealing with this to determine when it will be available for it to come to scrutiny. And there was one there that you replied to on the corporate risk register, deep dives into service risks. Is that the one there?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we put it forward as annual risk register Q3, but I think the wording should have been corporate risk register. And Sarah's response with regards to that, and I quote, "Not sure what is meant by annual risk register. We have an annual report on risk, which is done a few months after the end of the financial year, which will go to Governance and Audit Committee. and Cabinet. And we also have an existing corporate risk register, which is considered on a quarterly basis by Governance and Audit and Cabinet. Do you want me to expand on the conversation with Andrew?
Yes, please.
Yeah, and since our email was sent, we've had a further conversation with Andrew Mogford, and what he said he'd be happy to do as part of our sort of plan in the planning session for our forward work programme. He'd be happy enough to come in to discuss what's on the risk register, and we can potentially pick out any sort of key items we want off that register then and deep dive into that as part of the scrutiny then.
Yes. So as a result of that being sent by Andrew, we had an additional pre-meet at 3 o'clock today. And in view of the offer, what we're suggesting is that we have arranged a meet with all of us, with Andrew, finding a suitable date over the next few weeks, making sure that Sarah, Andrew, yourself, and everybody else on the committee to find a date which is suitable to everyone. So hopefully we can do this perhaps later on this month.
Yeah, hopefully latest, yeah.
Yeah, might go into early May. So that's what we intend to do. Are you all happy with that? At least, it's right we'll have this discussion with Andrew. The other thing is that another item is possible is the annual evaluation. What do they call them? Sorry.
Self-evaluation.
Self-evaluation. That I think perhaps should be put on the list as a possibility. And there was one other which I didn't make a note of. There was a second one, wasn't there? Yes. Yeah, quite right. The medium-term financial plan.
Yeah, that was postponed from this particular scrutiny. And yeah, if members want, they'll pick that back up with Craig, see when we want to bring that back.
Yeah. But we can have a separate discussion with Craig to see when that would be available.
Yeah.
Okay. Was there anything else that any members here had any suggestions for? I noticed there was one of the on the additional items was the compliment and complaints report. We haven't dealt with that, have we, previously? No. It says here, and this was suggested in scrutiny on the 40th of January 25. I don't know what the date of September 25 is by the side of it. Because don't we, as an authority, do an annual report, complaints, and so on? It goes to somewhere. Councillor Mitten.
It's part of my thought process with regards to the forward work plan and this role as scrutiny. But my question is, and I'll tell you then my rationale, as chair of this scrutiny, which covers democratic services and scrutiny, we have a rationale report coming to us in council tomorrow night regarding the changes to scrutiny structure, names, etc. Can I just ask, were you consulted on that at all, Chair, or not, considering you are chair of the scrutiny that is responsible for it?
Well, the answer is yes. I was spoken about it, yes.
Okay. As chair, and obviously as chair of education and as chair of, and hence why I'm in this scrutiny, just to put on record, I wasn't consulted, and so I will be bringing that matter to the attention of officers tomorrow. And also the titles of the scrutiny are rather dubious, to say the least, and misnomers. So I shall be bringing that up tomorrow, as I don't feel it's right and just for this council to have those titles for scrutinies. Okay. Number of other comments, but I'll make them tomorrow night. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So having had that discussion, so there's a few items that we've got ready or should have for the next meeting. Nobody's got any other suggestions? No? You say,
I can't turn it off.
all right. Okay. Right, that's the forward work programme. Item 5, scrutiny referrals. We haven't had any. Item 6, that's the reflections, feedback on scrutiny activities. Can I just say, I was quite impressed with Julie's, how she dealt with all the questions that came at her from all directions. So I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I've seen people nodding their heads. I thought she was very good, to be honest with you. Declan?
Thank you, Chair. During the scrutiny, I said that I would write to Adam to ask about the commercialisation of. I probably shouldn't do that, Neil. You should be doing that, maybe. And I don't want to take away from your role, to be honest.
No, to do that, yeah.
Well, there was 3 of you.
I keep offering to do things I shouldn't.
Well, Craig said he would for the start. So,
Yeah,
so yeah, sorry. So, anyway, you Neil's it. Yeah, okay. Evan, any other business deemed urgent by the chair? I have none. Can I thank you all very much for your attendance and your involvement in today's meeting? Thank you.